Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about winterizing your pool in the high desert or in a high desert climate. Well, some of you guys may know we just moved into this house here in the high desert of California, basically Apple Valley, Victorille, kind of like on your way from LA to Vegas almost. And when we moved here, we got our first pool. So we had to learn a lot about pool chemicals and all sorts of things and how to take care of it. Well, now it's starting to get into late October and it's starting to cool down a little bit. And so we're curious about how do we winterize a pool here in the high desert? Well, typically when you talk about winterizing a pool, they're going to be doing a lot of things, lowering the water level, putting some little air pillows on there to keep the cover on it. They're going to be blowing the water out of the lines, all sorts of things, mainly with the goal of just keeping the water clean, stable, and keeping it from freezing in the lines so that way you don't have any problems or plumbing problems when you go to turn the pool back on. Well, in some climates, and especially in warmer ones like here in California in the high desert, we don't get like too cold a weather. Yeah, it does get cold and it does freeze, but it's not gonna freeze for months at a time. It still will get above freezing about 99% of the time during the day. So we don't have to do a lot of that stuff, but there are a few steps you can do that can help your pool get winterized so it can be ready in the springtime. So the first step is going to be making sure your pool chemicals are balanced properly. So I'm going to do that right now and get some water. Okay, now we'll take this inside and check our chemicals. Now, first of all, you want to make sure to rinse off your test kit with the pool water. Then you're going to fill up the water up to the line. Careful not to go above it to get inaccurate results. Then we're going to get our first chemical for our chlorine indicator. Do 5 drops of that, then 5 drops of our second chemical, and then we're going to do 5 drops of our pH indicator on the right side, and we're going to invert it twice. We're not going to shake it because that could affect the test. And then we're going to compare it to a bright light to see our levels. So one of the things I wanted to touch on was chemicals while we're talking about testing the chemicals. So you're still going to have to use chemicals if you're going to do this method over the wintertime. You're just going to have to use a lot less. A, because the temperatures aren't as hot, and B, you're not using it as much. So you're still going to have to add chlorine, but maybe instead of 2 tabs in your filter every week, you're maybe just 1 or 1 every couple weeks, and maybe shocking it once every week, maybe every month, just depending on how often you test it and how often it needs it. So just keep in mind you still will need chemicals over the wintertime for this method. Now on to step number 2. All right, step number 2 is going to be cleaning out your filter and your skimmer basket in your pump. So if you have a DE filter, which is what a lot of people have up in the high desert, it's basically going to be simple. You're going to remove the top here via this band, and then you're going to basically spray everything out after turning on the backwash mode of the filter. If you have a cartridge filter, it could be popping off the top, spraying off the filters, or sand. That's completely different also, but we don't see that a whole lot up here in the high desert. So I'm not going to do that today and show this, especially because I just did this like a week ago in preparation for wintertime, but it's a really easy process and we'll cover it more in the springtime when we start reopening the pool. But the really basic thing that you need to know is you should do it before winterizing just to make sure it's good all winter, and B, you should always do it if the pressure on your tank starts rising too high, more than normal. Now for step number 3, and this is the most important for winterizing your pool here in the high desert of California, it's going to be changing the times that your pump and filter are on. So this is a pretty simple solution because it gets cold at night, right? And it starts freezing, so you want to prevent freezing and freezing water in the pipes to burst your plumbing. So instead of running your pump in the morning from 7 to 3:30 p.m. on the off-peak times, you're going to do that at night. So after the peak times are over, so in our case 9 p.m., we're going to run the pump from about 9 p.m. till 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. And that can vary depending on when the temperatures are freezing or when they're not freezing. But that's in general what we're going to do. So, pretty simple here. As you can tell, basically the pump comes on at, what is that, about 7:30 in the morning right now and turns off at about 4 p.m. because that's when our peak hours are at. And you can tell it is supposed to be on right now, but I just turned it off for the video. So, what we're going to do is we're going to slide these over. So we're going to have it actually turn off now. Instead of at 4 p.m., it's going to turn off at 6 a.m., which is going to be basically the whole other side. Around here. That's the issue. You'll have to kind of mess around with it and see when temperatures are actually freezing to see when it will work best. Then you're going to flip this on one. Maybe easier just take it off. You go all the way over till basically after your peak times are over with, which is our case, is about 9 p.m. Well, that's it, guys. Pretty easy to winterize your pool up here. The main thing to consider is how much the temperature is going to be below freezing, especially if you have an in-ground pool. That's the biggest factor. If it's just a minimal amount of time, then this setup will work for you. But if you're someplace in the north, maybe in the mountains, where it stays below freezing for long periods of time, then you definitely want to actually winterize your pool by taking water out, blowing out the lines, that kind of stuff, because you don't want to have to run your pump continuously for 3 months just to keep the water moving. Thanks a lot, y'all. We appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please put them down below. Otherwise, we really appreciate it, and y'all have a good one. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, please consider clicking on the subscribe link below. Also, we have the video that YouTube recommends for you down here to your left, as well as our most recent video to your right.